The Lunaverse, Episode 27, by Rainbow Double Dash, Chapter 7, Black Magic, Crisis on Two Equestrias. Things were more delicate than they seem. They always are. Crack! The splinter and spiral cracks that weren't really there, across the place that wasn't real, were huge now. The wall was more cracks and chips than actual wall at this point, but it was fine. In the grand scheme of things, worse things by far had happened for a wall that wasn't there. Reality wasn't going to tear apart the scenes just because a few mayors decided to play with it. Universe is made of stern stuff than that. But it didn't mean there weren't other consequences. Crack! It is difficult for a three-dimensional being to really understand what was happening. It could have been easily described in metaphor, and poorly at that. Imagine a bow, like those used to fire arrows. Only this bow has four ends, all meeting in the middle. Two of the ends reach past the wall of reality and into one world, and then into the other two into another world. Now, imagine that bow has bent back on itself. The ends are nearly touching, all four of them. The bow can bend, but it's not really supposed to. Not like that. Of course, there's strain. Cracks along the center, and the bow remains pulled taut. Crack! Still, things are not beyond recovery here either. The bow has to bend for only a little while longer, as long as any sun shocks are avoided, and go back to the way it was, and be repaired over time. But if there are any additional strain added, if things go even a little wrong. In my life, I have made three great mistakes. Luna informed Celestia several minutes later, when she had finally calmed down. The first was feeling my version of you. Being so self-absorbed with my own resentment and loneliness, I didn't notice how ruining Equestria was beginning to wear upon her. Doing nothing until it was too late, until my sister had become Corona, and needed to be sealed within the sun for what I thought would be forever. Celestia inclined her head. Overhead, the moon and her stars were retreating towards the sky, setting beyond the eastern horizon until it would finally be their time to rise. I have similar regrets, she said. Luna nodded. The second mistake is personnel, she said, not relevant. The third mistake is, 9 years after bouncing Corona into the sun, she looked down. I abandoned my Equestria. Entirely. Celestia's head tilted to the side slightly. What do you mean? That is why I was here 1,000 years ago, Luna said. I spent 9 years drunk and depressed, wandering around trying to forget my duties as a princess. But I couldn't forget, no matter how hard I tried. Celestia and I, we have dwelt in Equestria since time immemorial, since before there was even an Equestria. Every tree, every rock, every blade of grass will remind me of what I had done. She shook her head. So I arranged for the sun and moon to take stable orbit. I made sure to leave behind in Canterlot instructions for unicorns, lost knowledge on how to move them. They would have plenty of time to practice, and I just went away. Luna went back to Celestia. I have always had an interest in exploration, in what lies beyond the next horizon. I had long ago discovered that my world was but one of many. I also discovered, though, that the vast majority of worlds are barren and lifeless, and travel between worlds are only possible with limited windows of opportunity, windows that are closed for hundreds or even thousands of years at a time. The opportunity to go in an uninhabitable world, however, presented itself, and she fell silent, looking down and closing her eyes. Celestia pressed her lips tightly together. And you abandoned your world, she finished, leaving the ponies there to the wiles of fate. I make no excuse, Luna said, shaking her head. There is none. Once I was here, I discovered ponies. I discovered a world much like my own, but different and new as well. I thought I could start fresh, she went to Celestia, and that is, of course, when you appeared, though you did not look just as Corona had in the end. She shook her head. I saw you, and I felt the presence in the moon. I drew my own conclusions, that this was a parallel world to my own, where events had transpired as much as they had in mine. I said that you had defeated me. Luna skipped a hoof. I entered the town. I forgot its name. I heard you had become a tyrant. I witnessed a pony being placed in stocks for a day for swelling on, and I thought that the same botanist that had taken my sister in my world, taking you here, a same desire for ceaseless, unending control. Celestia stiffened slightly, glancing at Twilight. I did not take banishing my sister to the moon well, Princess Luna, she said. Here, I was the one who failed her. The pain and loneliness you mentioned, I did not notice, and the result was her corruption by dark magic. She became Nightmare Moon and vowed to make the night last forever, in order to ensure that ponies had no choice but to witness its beauty. She went down. After banishing Nightmare Moon, I plunged myself into my role as princess. I wanted to keep the ponies safe, and I wanted to ensure that no pony could ever fall into darkness as my Luna did. But mostly, I wanted to keep myself busy so I could not think of what I had done. Luna blinked a few times, shifting uncomfortably. "I see," she said. She offered a faint smile. "Look, drink. We each have our coping mechanisms, I suppose." Celestia nodded. She eyed Luna. So then you return to your world, obviously, and resume your duties." She nodded. Luna shook her head. "Well, I did return," she said, "but at the present only worsened at the thought of there being no escape at all, not even the cowardly one I had taken. It was 3 more years before I was finally able to pull myself together." Celestia started at that. "I see," she said, looking disturbed for some reason. She quickly looked away from Luna, and to Trixie and her friends. She was amongst them, nuzzling them and hugging them closely. "How did you know what happened to her?" "She didn't," the magenta earth pony cheerily said. She finished hugging Trixie. She looked worried cheerily, Celestia, but seemed to have decided if Luna was comfortable, she would try to save it well. "Well, at least not at first. She said you were dead," the Jasmine Pegasus Raindrops said as he patted Trixie on the head. Trixie stared at that, looking to Luna. Why?" Luna grimaced. "Trixie, you know that I'm a very firm believer in a pony's right to privacy," she said, "but I do believe that there are exceptions to that right. And the first and foremost exception are those ponies who I'm taking on as an apprentice. You remember years ago, when I first took you to Canterlot, and I cast a location spell on a new pony in case you got lost?" Trixie thought for a moment, her eyes widened. "You said it would fade at the end of the day," she noted. Luna smiled a little guiltily. "I lied," she admitted, "but it is a good thing I did. I do not strike your movements on a day-to-day basis. I do trust you, Trixie, but the spell would be useful, I felt, if any pony were very foolish enough to kidnap you. You can imagine my shock, however, when it suddenly ceased. In the past, there had been only one reason for that." Trixie put her hoof to her chest. I'm sorry," she said. "I didn't mean to. I was trying to teleport in. Stupid lightning. I'm never teleporting again." Luna inclined her head. "I went to Ponyville. My arrival was public, and my concern evident. Your friends caught up with me in front of Sweet Apple Acres, while I was in the process of both trying to discover what had happened and demanding of Miss Applejack everything she knew about what happened to you. It was, of course, nothing." She shook her head. "I had all given up hope, until I had noticed the hole you had left behind in the world, and realized what happened." She went to Celestia, and realized where you had gone. "That's when all of us got together," Carrot Top said, the yellow earth pony. "I explained what had happened. I didn't really believe it at first." "I'm still having a hard time," Dizzy Deer added. "But we came anyway," Carrot Top continued. "Only, we were supposed to have the elements of harmony with us, in case we needed to fight Corona. But he didn't come with us, for some reason," Lyra said. She noticed the Twilight diadem staring on Trixie's head still. "I guess you found the local ones, though. Why does Dad have Twilight Sparkle's cutie mark?" "Oh," Trixie interrupted, stepping forward looking at Luna. "I almost forgot. Princess Twilight. Our world's Twilight is here." Luna grimaced. "Yes," she said, closing her eyes and setting her horn glowing. After a moment, there was a midnight huge flash and a pop, and a deep blue spear, 5 feet in diameter, was hovering next to Luna. Inside the spear, hunkering down, looking utterly defeated, was a leather unicorn with a dark mane marked by 2 stripes. One purple, one pinkish. You know, I I look at Twilight, and sometimes it's hard for me to see that 3rd stripe, especially when it comes to her plushies. With a cutie mark of a starburst with smaller stars around it. She glanced up, gave Trixie a long look, cast her head back down. We caught her. Correct! Twilight stared at Twilight, but Twilight refused to look back. The concept of doubt alone would have been normally to set off Twilight, but with everything that had been happening over the past few hours, she felt like almost her panic mode was burnt out. Trixie, however, that is to say, Trixie, self-proclaimed great and powerful in her universe's Trixie, seemed to be utterly fascinated. So, Trixie is understanding everything correctly, she said quietly to Twilight, as Luna continued to speak with Celestia. That tramp is the student of Princess Luna from another universe. Twilight nodded. It makes sense. It makes no sense, he said. Trixie agrees. Hey, wait a minute. She turned on Twilight. What do you mean by that? You think I'm not good enough? No, I mean it makes no sense. Twilight hissed, looking at Trixie. She felt annoyance rising at her again at the whole situation. Didn't you hear what the difference between our world and theirs? Princess Luna stayed good, and Princess Celestia went evil somehow. But that was 1,000 years ago. Shouldn't 1,000 years of differences starting to pile up? How is that, Trixie? She pointed a hoof at the alternate universe counterpart. Even exist? Do you know the odds are of 2 ponies meeting and having a foal? The slightest change and you might not even exist. The multiply applied by 1,000 years worth of differences. She put her hose to her mouth and gasped. It could work if free will is a lie. If all our lives are just played out on some kind of tapestry without has any real input. We could just go through the motions and off! Twilight rubbed her flank where Spike had poked her with one claw. Spike! She exclaimed. I was in the middle of an existential crisis. I know, I helped. Trixie, stop paying attention now after you stop talking about her anyway, Trixie said, looking back at Twilight's counterpart, the one stuck in the bubble. After a moment, she trotted up to it, knocking the bubbles out her head. Tink, 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 tink. Hello, Twilight from another world. Trixie will ask you a question. Twilight inside blinked, glancing up. Celestia and Luna also ceased talking, and so the other Trixie and her friends. The great and powerful Trixie noticed the attention and stood up straight at it. Trixie has gathered our 2 worlds from a parallel, she said, making a sweeping motion with one hoof. However, she assumes that you 2 were unfairly blamed for the universal rival of an Ursa Minor in Ponyville. Trixie would like to hear you retell her about her other self-defeat in it. The pony in the bubble blinked a few times. Why not ask her? She asked, pulling at her own forehead to Trixie. Voice was tingling from echoing in the bubble's surface. Trixie smiled. Oh, no reason. She wants to hear it coming from you, because it'll sound like coming from that one, the alternate Trixie said, trying forward. She eyed her counterpart. It'll be like hearing her Twilight describe her. The Twilight in the bubble stared between the 2 Trixies, before her eyes narrowed. I don't believe it, she said. You 2 really are the same, both of you. You're both giant frauds, and me and my own counterpart. She glared at Twilight, pointing at her. I thought you were better. I thought you wouldn't make the same mistakes at me. But then, wouldn't mean it? Twilight blanched, drawing forward. I made a mistake. And that mistake was used on fools! Twilight exclaimed shrilly. Trixie from an alternate universe rolled her eyes. Yes, dropping a space bear in the town is so much better. I teleported back to Everfree. All you did was distracted and nearly got eaten. Celestia and Luna regarded their students, and their students as doppelgangers, were completely ignoring them at this point. The guys began tuning each other. Should we? Asked Celestia. Luna considered. I sense there's a lot of pent-up anger here, she said, looking up to the pony, who looked so much like her sister. It might be best if we let them get it out of their systems, especially my Twilight. She inclined her head. But this is your world and your kingdom. Celestia considered. We'll intervene if things get too much out of Huff. Of course. Luna slid the Huff behind her at the remaining 5 elements of harmony. Her elements, in any event. And watching her friend Trixie closely, seemed to have come to the same conclusion Luna did. I should like to introduce you to these fine mares, in any event. Crack! You don't... Trixie took the element of magic off her head, waving in front of her for Twilight. You don't get this just for being a good spellcaster, Twilight. That was what I was trying to tell you before. The element rattled around Twilight's horn glow. She pulled it back to herself. I'd really like this back now, though, she said, since, we figured out it's not really yours. But it could have been mine. The great and powerful Trixie said thoughtfully. The Twilight and the Bubble and the other Trixie both laughed. You're a fraud, she said. You're like me, before I came to Ponyville, multiplied by 10, Trixie continued. The show pony balanced. What is that supposed to mean? She asked, getting up at Ursul's face. It means, she said, then she looked at her free Twilight. What's that about an alicorn, Twilight? Leave Trixie alone, she insisted. She doesn't need any help from you, Twilight Sparkle. Trixie interrupted, holding up a Huff. Trixie is so grateful for you freeing her, make no mistakes. But Trixie can fight her own battles. The other Trixie said, I'll bet. Twilight rolled her eyes. Are you really so insecure you had to belittle her? She asked. It's not like you're any better. Not like a... Trixie asked, stepping back before eyes narrowed. Hello? Dean Trixie, Twilight. I didn't get that for nothing. I helped defeat Corona, saved Elton. It was me at Atlantis, me at Ice Palace. Dame Trixie froze at that, mouth hanging open, before shutting a delivery and narrowing her eyes. That was months ago. Crack. Well, it seems to me you're just going to keep this Trixie here for whatever she did. This pony dodgy from housing mind slated her some minor. You what? You have to call me out for using the Wyatt knee spell. I thought you just learned that thing into your Ponyville. Which Trixie wasn't even responsible for here, incidentally. But no, they all blamed for her because it's your fault. You're boasting your own stupidity. Not even funny here. You don't know what happened. The great and powerful Trixie only... Oh, will you stop that? You're not even on that stage. The whole world's a stage. Stars above, it's just like looking at a carnival mirror. Speak for yourself, Tubby. What? You heard me. We're not identical. Trixie has finally towed musculature from her life on the road. But you clearly need to work out more. Please, Trixie wouldn't know hard work a bit better in the flank. Wouldn't even be representative of Ponyville. She just used the lure to get herself a cushy job. I did not. Besides, your counterpart is a librarian. How did you get easier than that? Hey! Firstly, I'm still Princess Celestia's student too, you know. That's a job in itself. Here it is. You know what? You're both jerks. So are you. And so are you. We're all just broken. It's not me. I've got the element of magic. Hey, give that back. It's mine. It's mine too. It could have been mine. It shouldn't have been any of ours. Stop and look before it all falls apart. Princess Celestia was talking to the bearers of the elements from another world, assuring them that she is nothing like Corona. But the sound of an actual scuffle, she had her head over her shoulder. Luna turned around as well. Both are about to intervene. The Twilight from Luna's world is standing on her hind legs, inside her prison, forelegs touching the edges. She's shouting as she stares at the element of magic, suspended in front of her. The Trixie from Luna's world has a telekinetic grip on the element of magic. She's shouting it too, pointing a hoof at the free Twilight. The self-proclaimed great and powerful Trixie is reaching out a hoof, trying to touch the element of magic. She won't get a chance. Twilight Sparkle, student of Princess Celestia, is pulling on the element of magic of telekinesis, trying to bring it back to her. No pony had ever considered how it could happen. How could they? So utterly impossible. Nothing has ever stopped something from happening before. Crack! Snap! Every pony froze at the sound. It wasn't very loud. Indeed, one would think that it would have been a much louder, more tense sound, given what had happened. Nevertheless, it was loud enough to shock both Trixie and Twilight for letting their telekinetic grip on the terminite diadem go. As every pony watched it fall to two pieces on the ground, the gemstone it held broke free of its clasp and fell. Bounced to the air once. Fractures all along its surface, it fell back down to the road, shattered apart. There was a moment of stunned silence. Then there was an explosive light, followed slowly by the cacophonous boom that threw every pony to the ground, even the princesses. Even the Twilight had been trapped in Luna's bubble, as the bubble was early destroyed by the blast. Purple light shot from the shattered gem into the sky, and after a moment, the pieces of the gemstone followed. The light was not a solid beam, or even a curve, but a jagged, twisted thing, rolling and moving upon itself in random directions in the sky, and leaving strings of purple-tinged magic behind it, before finally beginning to descend into the far distance. Its fall was much more uniform than its ascent, and appeared to land somewhere deep inside the evergreen forest. Every pony picked themselves up only slowly. The princesses and Luna were the first to rise, moving slowly, unbelievingly towards their apprentices, and their apprentices as doppelgangers. In the center of those 4 points lay the tourmaline diadem, broken jaggedly in half, and not a trace of the gemstone remained. "Twilight!" Celestia said. Both Twilights looked at her in shock, so she undoubtedly was referring to only her student. "What have you done?" "It wasn't me!" Twilight exclaimed, pointing an accusing hoof. "It was Trixie!" "No, it wasn't!" one of the Trixies exclaimed. "I just needed the other element for example, to Twilight letting let go. It certainly wasn't me," the other Trixie said, counting before the 2 alicorns. "I never touched it. And it was definitely these 2 pulling apart. What did they think it would happen?" The other Twilight said. "Silence!" Luna ordered, spreading her wings wide. The 4 ponies cowered. Celestia stood looking fitfully to her teacher. Celestia, however, did not rebuke Luna as she intentionally lifted the shattered diadem of golden aura, eyes darting back and forth as her mind raced. "Princess Luna," Celestia said after a moment, looking to the other alicorn, "I need to speak to you, privately, for a moment." Luna nodded, following Celestia as she trotted off a dozen places, already speaking in a low voice. The ponies watched the conversation in silence, glancing between each other. At one point, the Trixie in Luna's world began to urge closer to her friends, but Luna noticed and shot Trixie a look, as she returned to where she was. Both Celestia and Luna seemed to say things that made the other unsure, but at length they turned around and returned to the 4 ponies that had broken the element of magic. "Trixie," Luna said as he approached, looking directly at her student, "I do not want to hear any argument about what we are about to say. Do you understand?" "Nor you, Twilight," Celestia said. "Time is short." The 2 students glanced at each other fitfully, glared, at what might have been a better term, but nodded. "You shattered the element of magic, all 4 of you. I do not know how, but it does not matter. Without the element of magic," Luna continued, "the saucers and monsters how long at bay at this world may find themselves loosed once again. In fact, without the element of magic, it is possible that this entire world may unravel. In other words, Trixie, you have a date in the lives of every pony here." Trixie wilted. Celestia eyed Luna a moment, but then returned her gaze to Twilight. "We have time," she said. "That was as obvious by the fact that we are not already besieged by our greatest foes." She leaned a little closer. "You know who I'm talking about." Twilight nodded. "Discord," she said. "And he's only the greatest threat," Celestia said. "Not the only one." "The solution is simple," Luna said, pointing a hoof behind her at the evergreen forest. "Go and recover the gemstone, both of you." She looked past the 2 students, at their 2 copies. "And you 2 will accompany them and aid them." "What?" Here Trixie demanded. Trixie had no intention of going into the evergreen. "And I didn't even do anything," Twilight objected. "I was in your bubble. I couldn't possibly had—" One of Celestia's wings snapped wide open. Twilight shut up. Trixie backed away only a little and laughed nervously. I guess we could use my wagon, she said. The two princesses nodded, pulling their wings back against their barrels. It must be you four only, however, Sola said, glancing at Trixie's other friends, then also at Spike. Do not ask why. Just leave, now. Wait! One of Trixie's friends, Lyra, accepted, stepping forward. You mean we came all the way here, we jumped to the crier world, just to not help Trixie? Unfortunately, yes, Celestia said, inclining her head. I'm sorry, but things have to be this way. We can explain in detail later. Why have you not left, Twilight? The rapid change in subject startled Celestia, stood. She said, right, come on! She galloped towards Trixie's wagon. Another moment, the other three ponies followed. Celestia and Luna both noted, with no smallest amount of concern, that the four ponies all studied studiously, avoiding looking at each other. But even one saw atop the wagon, setting up fire magic. They left in silence, not of determination, but from contempt for one another. Their silence was not broken even once the four were out of sight, heading towards the edge of town, and beyond that, the Everfree. Trixie's remaining friends, and Spike, all looked at the princesses. Why couldn't we go with them? Spike asked Celestia. I never get to help Twilight out with saving the world. Celestia glanced down at him. Because, she said, you are Twilight's friend already, which means you cannot help her. The element of logic is the element of friendship. I still do love it when somebody actually gets that. Luna continued. And I believe what we just saw was what happens if two members of the element of logic meet. They don't like each other very much. The problem may never have been exacerbated by the presence of the other Twilight and the other Trixie, Celestia continued. She grimaced. I suspect that the element of magic will only be repaired if those four can become friends. Oh, Spike said. Then he really thought about what Celestia said. Oh, that's not good. Nearly 100 miles away, and a few minutes earlier, a jagged beam of purple light arced across the sky towards the Everfree Forest. It twisted and turned several times, doubled back in on itself, and ricocheted off the tree of rock, one fairly rudely awakened Hydra, bounding randomly until it finally splashed down into a warring water fray by thick bushes and trees. There was a moment of calmness after that. Then, a pony's hoof broke the surface of the river, gasping for air, trying to swim, but sinking beneath the rapid flow quickly. She rose a second time, only to sink back down once more. Then a third time, she let out a scream. The horn atop her head glowed a bright, angry purple. And magic shoved at the river, pushing the water of all sides under backwards and away. She landed in the muck of the riverbed, getting coated in grime and sand. Breathing deeply a few times before grimacing and standing, she looked at the water that was telekinetically holding back. They had dared to try and drown her. With a grunt, she sent a blast of black magic at it. The magic seemed to coil and twist into the water, running and moving like geeking lightning, upriver as far as the eye could see. When the entire water had become jet black, it ceased, leaving behind nothing but a dry riverbed. The pony chuckled to herself as she climbed out of the river, shaking herself off. There was a pool nearby, which allowed her to get a first good look at herself. She discovered her mane and tail were dark blue and thick, and her fur was a deep blue, maybe purple, she didn't know. Twisting a little, she found herself looking at the cutie mark on her flank. A lavender starburst set against the midnight blue, crescent-shaped nebula. Makes sense. The pony grunted, then raised his eyebrow. I can talk. She paused a moment with her own words. I can think. I exist. That's new. I think, therefore I am. I am. The pony paused. Huh? She thought aloud. Who? What? Where? When? Why? How? Why? Why? Okay, calm down. You can do this. One at a time, in a list. Who? I'll get back up to that. What? Seem to be pony shaped. Sound like a pony. Pony, then, ha! This is easy. Where? What's like the Everfree? I don't like the Everfree. When? Now. How? Trixie and Twilight broke the element of magic, duh. Why? The pony thought, there's the rub. A purpose. A pony needed a purpose in life. Cutie marks were a good guide, but hers wasn't. Not really. She needed something more. A driving goal. Something to motivate her. Something to give herself meaning. The answer, of course, was obvious. Some ponies may have spent years or decades agonizing philosophizing, but not her. She was only a few minutes old. It's like how Full instinctually knows how to talk. She instinctively knew what she wanted. I'm going to kill Twilight and Trixie, she considered. It'll be fun.